and welcome to A Brand New Day with BTS, a podcast dedicated to bringing you a day-by-day history and song discussion of the South Korean music group internationally known as BTS. Happy Festa! In this episode, I talk about June 13th in BTS history and my love for the song Swim, the lead track from BTS's latest full-length album, Arirang. First, recent BTS activity, May 27th to June 10th. Right after I finished recording my last episode on May 27th, BTS performed day 3 of their Vegas show, and afterwards, RM did a live to do his usual album walkthrough. I honestly didn't think we'd get one this time, so I was so thrilled. I'm not going to summarize the whole thing because he really did walk us through the entire album track by track, as well as the setup of the sessions in LA that produced the album. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend it. It's also been translated by native Korean speakers on Blue Sky and YouTube who go more into depth. If you want recommendations, please reach out on Blue Sky. Towards the end of the live, RM also touched on some more general topics about this current era and how it consumes music. He worries that people don't care about lyrics anymore, and he gets anxious that there's less and less room for people like him who got into music through language and lyrics, who put stories into songs and carefully layered meaning and metaphor. From RM's perspective, people don't read as much anymore. The emphasis is on short-form content, reels. Even RM is like that. If a book gets too hard, he tosses it aside and goes back to the scrolling dopamine hits. RM referred to it as the chasing of excessive positivity. I did want to say something on this, just briefly. I don't think he's wrong, but I also don't think he's 100% right. There's a reason BTS released Dynamite in the pandemic. There's a reason it became widely listened to. There's a reason your dark dramas have the fluffiest fanfics. But conversely, your fluff shows have dark, dramatic fanfics. There's a reason that RM, who had a very rough time in the military, who is still suffering from lingering anxiety and insomnia, is having difficulty reading tough books. When capacity for stress or sadness is at its limit, you don't seek it out. You seek out escape. But I also don't think he's 100% right. There's a tendency when we personally are feeling something really strongly or having a very acute experience of the world that we start projecting that same experience onto other people. Everyone is like this. Everyone feels this way. Even while there are people who very much need an escape right now, there are still people who need the catharsis of listening to the hard stories too, to enjoying art and poetry, to hearing someone echo their own thoughts in a song. There are people who, when they have their fill of the meaningless, ungrounded positivity, need to return to something more realistic that says, yes, we know life is hard, and it feels hard, and everything is actually difficult and sad. But we're alive, and we're going to keep swimming through this. I'm very thankful that despite feeling like he no longer belongs in the era, that it's moved on to a place where RM and by extension BTS can't follow. He's committed to keeping BTS as the last bastion of meaningful music. The truth is that times are really hard right now. The economy is poor. There's several wars going on. There's been an active genocide going on it's been going on for a really long time, but it's been in our face for about 2 years and with no action taken. And so people are at the end of their capacity for hard things. And so that's why there's the growth in nostalgia and positivity and sort of trying to escape the reality of life. But again, as I say, that doesn't mean that that's the case 24/7 every single day for every single person. It might be the case for you at the end of your workday, but on the weekend, when you have a little bit more time, you can sit there and you can read a nice poetry book. You can listen to a really good song that has depth and meaning to it, and you can have that spark something in you that makes you feel like there's art in this world. So on that note, BTS wrapped up their Vegas concerts with day 4. J-Hope came live after the team dinner. J-Hope talked about how the tour is going really well, how the new style of touring, where they take a little bit longer in each place, is filling the tour with joy and happiness, which is just awesome to hear as ARMY, because a happy BTS makes for an amazing tour and more great music because they're in a healthier place to create. J-Hope went to sleep after his live stream, which he ended up doing in 3 sections because the Wi-Fi kept dropping out. But 2 people who didn't sleep were JK and Jin. JK did a live stream in the morning, slightly delirious and possibly still drunk from the team dinner the night before. They'd stayed awake all night in order to sleep on the plane back to Korea. And that marked a little break in the tour and the end of the first leg of the US shows. With the World Cup taking place in July in North America, BTS are off to Europe. But first, Festa. BTS have been quiet in the lead up, though they've been active on social media. Suga posted his vlog about participating in the Beta Breakers half marathon on his Instagram. J-Hope stayed an extra day in the US so he could go check out the Antelope Canyons. Those are on the Navajo lands in northern Arizona. And everyone had posted photos from the concerts. Except for JK, he never posts photos. JK also flew briefly to Japan for a Calvin Klein event. RM has been having fun with Pokemon and also getting a new driver sticker for possibly his car or whoever car he might be borrowing. Might be his. But just because BTS have personally been a little quiet as they rest and prepare for the Busan concerts, that doesn't mean stuff isn't happening. While they were in Stanford, California, they did their Festa family photos for the first time since 2022. Also, while they were in Stanford or possibly other stops, they filmed short 6-minute vlogs each. RM read a book, J-Hope did his skincare routine, and then picked out his outfit of the day. Suga showed off his guitar. Jimin packed up after the Stanford shows, careful not to show us his underwear in the process. And Jin, Jungkook, and V all went to the gym, separately, not together. Hobie also appeared as V's gym buddy in his vlog, and JK and Jimin both peeked in on Jin as he filmed his own gym vlog. And just yesterday, that's a funny way for me to phrase that. I'm reading my notes. Just yesterday, we got the Festa Dinner Party 2.0 at 22 minutes and introduced like a run episode. It was filmed close to Stanford in Northern California. It's a hilarious and good time, kept light and in stark contrast to the last Festa dinner we got back in 2022 that announced the beginning of Chapter 2. This one is really about a celebration of the success of that strategy, how they did in fact come together stronger, more confident, and how they're making moves now to stay healthier and happy moving forward. Throughout the dinner, you can see that their bond is as strong as ever, and they have so much they want to do in the future, and that was my favorite part. Upcoming in the Festa schedule is the official release of Come Over on streaming platforms, so we'll be able to chart it and also add it to as many playlists without having to save it as a local file. We'll also have 2 concerts in Busan on the 12th and 13th, likely with special Festa surprises, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, well, you'll know by the time you're listening to this, but I don't know currently. The concert on the 13th will have live viewings in cinemas in various countries around the world. That'll be happening on the day I release this, possibly. The concerts are also live streamed. Did I say that already? Anyway, concerts. They'll be fun. And since I'm not doing an episode for a bit, I can tell you that BTS have a 2-week break from the tour after Festa. BTS will tour Europe for July, and then they'll be back in North America in August to finish off their North American dates after that World Cup business is over. There's also a couple games for the World Cup in my city, and I'm avoiding the city when those games are on. I'm going the other direction. One game is this weekend, and I'm going to go to the suburbs and watch BTS in movie theaters. That's the plan. This day in BTS history, June 13th. I'm sure you'll expect me to start with 2013, but let's talk about June 2012 first. I don't know the exact date, but it was around June 2012 that the final lineup for BTS was decided. Jimin was added after only living in Seoul in the trainee dorms for 1 month. By all accounts, this happened partially because Suga specifically requested him. My source for that is Jimin himself in a message to Suga on the 2020 Festa rolling papers. So, BTS started preparing for their eventual debut a whole year before it happened, though there were still obstacles and events that happened in that year that risked their future. Thankfully, they made it through to June 13th, 2013. BTS's official debut day is their television debut on M Countdown. An interesting little side note here is that you'll often see members referencing June 12th as their beginning. That is because their debut showcase was on June 12th. That was the first time they performed for an audience of press and the fans, who would eventually be named ARMY. However, in the visual modern age, the official debut day is the television debut day, when the public at large can see them on a weekly music show. Jin starts the day with a post on Fan Cafe. In it, he mentions how RM and Suga have started calling him Pink Princess, and how it was Jin who came up with their Bangtan Bangtan Bang Bangtan chant that they do before they perform. This post might have been written before they went to sleep the night before, because the rest of the activity that day was solely dedicated to debut. They performed No More Dream on M Countdown. This day is well documented because it's a huge deal. You can watch it on the Bangtan TV YouTube channel in episode BTS Debut Day 130613. And the Bangtan Bombs, a game Bangtan plays in the dressing room, and Jimin's rap. BTS are extremely active on their Twitter account, tweeting selfies from the day, celebrating that they made the top of trending, and looking forward to the mini fan meeting tomorrow and hoping that fans will come. June 13th, 2014. The first ever Festa. BTS created Festa on a whim because they had a little time off and they weren't doing much, and it happened to be around their birthday. So they filmed a cool FM 06.13 first birthday Festa radio style show at their offices, where they sat around a table and created their own radio show content. They released it on this day, as well as releasing the first ever Festa song, which was called So For More, a play on the words sophomore. This title has since become confused with the song Second Grade on some platforms, but you'll know you're listening to the real So For More if it starts with the line, "It's been a year, it's been a motherfucking year." They also released a little montage video for the song on their YouTube channel called Episode BTS First Anniversary So For More. Their Twitter is full of selfies and happy birthday messages from each member, but BTS themselves are off to the airport because they're flying to Russia. Once they land in Moscow, RM tweets to explain a little that So For More was written when he was filming the Four Things show, and he was still feeling alienated by both his former underground hip-hop friends and the K-pop industry, and was confused musically about what he should be prioritizing. Now, you might be surprised that I didn't mention the little birthday party they threw for themselves in the dorm. Remember when I said that their first performance for an audience was on June 12th? That was the day that BTS celebrated their first birthday in the dorm in 2014. June 13th, 2015. BTS were originally supposed to have their second muster on the second birthday, but due to the MERS outbreak in Seoul, there were restrictions on social gatherings. We're now all familiar with this kind of event globally because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but back in the day, that sort of stuff used to happen locally, and in 2015, it wrecked some of BTS's summer plans. The second muster got postponed, so there was no big in-person event to mark the occasion. They had still recorded another Cool FM 06.13 radio show at the end of May and released it on the 13th, however. Once again, their shared Twitter account was full of posts from all members celebrating the day, including several Dub Smash videos, because that's what was popular at the time. And if you don't know what Dub Smash is, first, enjoy your youth. And secondly, you should definitely search it up. It was super entertaining, at least at the time. June 13th, 2016. No epidemic to stop them this year. BTS had their third anniversary Happy BTS Day Party 2016 concert. They had released their usual radio show sit down the day before this year, so that the 13th could be dedicated to the fan meeting. Before they went on stage, J-Hope, Jimin, and Suga did a live stream from backstage, fitting each of them in frame by having Suga sit on J-Hope's lap the whole time. You can see the behind the scenes for this event in the Bangtan Bombs BTS's vocal duet Soap Me, stage behind the scene, coming of age ceremony, dance cover by Jimin and Jungkook, RM and Jin dance stage behind the scene for BTS Day Party 2016, The Dream Come True, his Cypher Part 3 solo stage, And of course, the entire day is full of Twitter posts from the members and selfies and gratitude. June 13th, 2017. We get another Festa-specific concert. This time it's BTS's 4th anniversary 2017 BTS Home Party. The radio show has been released the day before, just like the previous year. On this day, the members are feeling nostalgic and they tweet photos from some of their first photo shoots in 2013, as well as current selfies, of course, with numerous thanks to ARMY. BTS Home Party is a fun fan meeting because we get a lot of gems from it, including BTS's parody of their Blood, Sweat, and Tears music video, RM and V singing 4 O'Clock, Suga and Jin swapping songs, and Jimin, Jungkook, and J-Hope, otherwise known as 3J, performing a special dance routine that cycles through 3 songs and shows off each of their distinct styles. The units were divided that way because they were sticking with the theme of home, and those were the roommate pairings in their dorm at the time. Fun fact, you can now visit this dorm in Seoul because it's been turned into a cafe. You have to walk up a ridiculously big hill to get to it, as is often the case in Seoul, and it's of course been renovated, so it no longer has the same layout. But you can see what was once their living room wall, and a lights fixture over the staircase inside is reportedly the same as well. The staff of the cafe have provided sticky notes for ARMY who want to leave messages. If you visit, please don't write on the walls. That's rude. June 13th, 2018. This year's Festa concert is called BTS Festa 2018 BTS Prom Party Review and Preview, or BTS Prom Party for short. This is the Festa that gifted us Dang and the rap line performing it at the concert, with a surprise appearance of V as a dancer. JK and Jimin also do a tribute to Michael Jackson through dance, and V and Jin perform It's Definitely You, the original soundtrack from Harang, The Flowery Nights, which V filmed in 2016 and aired in 2016 and 2017. You can see Bangtan Bomb's Of the Dang and It's Definitely You performances. They use the Korean song titles in the video titles, so if you don't know those, just look up Bangtan Bomb BTS Prom Party and you'll find them. Unfortunately, due to copyright, BTS couldn't post JK and Jimin's Michael Jackson performance on YouTube, but you can see them practicing for it with different music with the same BPM overlaid in Bangtan Bomb BTS Prom Party unit stage behind Jimin and Jungkook. Twitter is once again full of selfies and thank yous to ARMY. Also on MBC Music, a show called All About BTS airs. Side note here, a lot of people blanket all of 2018 as BTS being on the verge of breaking up, but that's simply not true. BTS had a rough time at the very beginning of the year. By the time Festa arrives, they were well on their way to recovery, and disbandment was not a concern at all. I'm not saying they were 100%, there's no way I could personally know that, but from everything they've told us, the only exceptionally bad months were January and February. And then everything after that was them slowly getting better. A lot of people like to make dramatic edits that I see posted, and they use footage from later or events from later in 2018 and, make it seem like they were about to break up. Anything after August especially, they had signed new contracts. They were good. They were not going to break up anymore. Everything was fine. June 13th, 2019. BTS had just wrapped up the main part of the Love Yourself, Speak Yourself extension of their Love Yourself tour. They were back in Korea on this day, but the 13th was spent practicing for a fan meeting style concert rather than performing one. BTS's 5th muster Magic Shop was scheduled for June 15th in Busan. So on BTS's 6th birthday, they spent the day in the practice room preparing for the muster. You can watch their practice session on the Magic Shop DVD behind videos. Feeling sentimental, no doubt, J-Hope tweets a video from the private trip they took in March 2018 when they were recovering from their hard time and wishes BTS a happy birthday. Jin tweets a photo of himself and Suga on stage and wishes BTS, aka Sochin and the 6 babies, a happy birthday. Another member posts photos of BTS pre-debut, possibly on Jin's birthday in 2012. Among other pre-debut and debut photos, this might still be J-Hope because, as I discussed last week, J-Hope is one of the members who casually documents BTS the most over the years. But because the Twitter account is shared and they don't always sign their tweets, I don't know for sure who is posting the photos at the time. Because there's no concert competing for attention on this day, this time BTS also released the video 2019 BTS Festa Bangtan Attic, which is their evolution of the radio show this year. They had filmed it back in April. June 13th, 2020. Another year where social distancing measures due to outbreak had ruined initial plans for this day. But in this case, the ruining of plans was far broader, longer lasting, and devastating to BTS. Due to COVID-19, everything had been shut down since February in Korea and the rest of the world since March. BTS had to quickly recover and make new plans when it was quite clear that the pandemic would not be over in 2 weeks or even 3 to 6 months, like what had happened with MERS in 2015. BTS rallied and they had an online concert planned for the 14th. On this day, they aired their filmed Festa conversation video, this time a recreation of their first birthday in the dorms in 2014, but this time on a large set with a large kitchen. Jin still cooked with RM helping, Jimin and Suga was still on cake decoration duty, and V, J-Hope, and Jungkook still got the balloons all placed for maximum celebration. The content was pre-filmed in April, so everyone's mood is a little bit down because they're still very much adjusting to having all their tour dreams canceled. But there are still great laughs and good stories. You can check it out in BTS 7th birthday party. BTS were slowly moving away from Twitter at this point. They had their own platform, Weverse now, on which they had individual accounts. The social media activity is divided between the two platforms. Among the members who post, which are Jin, RM, and J-Hope, as well as BTS as a group, RM also posts a heartfelt letter to Weverse reflecting on 7 years with BTS and 10 years since his move to the big hit dorms. They do a live-streamed radio show as part of Suga's pandemic-era Cool FM 06.13 series, which he had been doing weekly for 2 months. It's their first collective Cool FM labeled live stream in 3 years. They read The Wizard of Oz, complete with character voices, and go through a survey that was given to ARMY a few days earlier about their favorite songs for special occasions. They also read heartfelt messages of support from ARMY. You can watch a behind the scenes of this live stream in Bangtanbom Shupdi Cool FM 06.13 hashtag 0613FM underscore 0613 with BTS highlight clip. They tweet a group selfie after the show. June 13th, 2021. Their 8th Festa is the first one they didn't originally plan on being around for. But because of the pandemic and the military extension, their original plans got postponed. On this day, we get the pre-recorded Festa conversation, this time in the form of an ARMY shop where all of their memories are stored. They discuss their history and memories and their hopes for a future concert. They give even more insights into their history, I think mainly because they're gearing up to release an anthology before enlistment, and also because with the unpredictable nature of the pandemic and enlistment, it's hard to talk about the future, so the past becomes the focus. They likely also filmed this content in April. They had been hoping to be able to have a small audience for their sixth semester, Sowuzu, named after the Korean title for the song Microcosmos, or Microcosmos, depending on how you pronounce it. So they'd made an outdoor stage outside the stadium. Unfortunately, the government once again ruled that even outdoor gatherings were forbidden. So while they still used the outdoor stage, they once again set up screens to project ARMY via their webcams and did a fully online concert. The members all took to Twitter or Weverse to tweet their thanks to ARMY along with selfies. V also responded to an ARMY's post on Weverse. He had asked ARMY during the concert to wave their phone flashlights out their windows while they performed Microcosmos to see if they could see the other ARMY in their neighborhood who were watching too. And one fan did and saw someone in the opposite building doing the same. V was very happy because it was exactly what he wanted to have happen. June 13th, 2022. It's BTS's 9th birthday and their last Festa together before enlistment, but most of ARMY haven't realized that yet. JK releases My You as the Festa song gift this year. RM posts a collage of BTS's first Christmas together 9 years ago on his Instagram account. Other members also post on Instagram or Weverse commemorating the day. They've recently released their anthology album, Proof, and have selected 3 music shows to perform at for the special comeback. On this day, they're doing the M Countdown pre-recording, which you can watch in episode BTS Proof Music Show Promotions Sketch. After the recording, V does a live stream. M Countdown was their last pre-recording, so officially BTS group activities have stopped, at least until the special concert in Busan later that year. V comes live to wait with ARMY for a special Proof live performance video to be dropped. He chats in the meantime about where he should get his BTS friendship tattoo and his favorite dramas and movies at the moment. Then watches some of BTS Try Not to Laugh challenges, eats ramen, naps for 10 minutes, and then watches the first 2 performances with ARMY before he signs off. It was the last day before ARMY was informed that Chapter 1 was officially over and Chapter 2 had begun. June 13th, 2023. BTS's 10th anniversary is our first BTS-less Festa. Jin and J-Hope are enlisted and working hard. Suga just wrapped up his Thailand concerts on his D-Day tour and is taking a couple of days in Thailand to vacation likely. V spends most of the day in the air as he travels to Paris. It's the day before JK has to fly to LA as well. RM and Jimin both post letters to ARMY. Despite possibly still being in an airplane, V posts many videos from over the years with heartfelt message to the members and ARMYs. Suga posts a photo of them bowing on stage after the Proof comeback and gives love and thanks to everyone. BTS posts a live performance video of Take 2, which they recorded before Jin enlisted the previous year. J-Hope and Jin also both used their phone time in the military to post photos and happy 10th anniversary messages. Jin's post includes a heartfelt letter about the constancy of love and his plans to go directly on livestream after his discharge in 2024 so that he can be with ARMY on the 11th anniversary. Once V gets to his hotel room in Paris, he posts a photo of the balloons and flowers waiting for him there, wishing him happy anniversary from the Tay crew. June 13th, 2024. Jin keeps his promise to celebrate the 11th anniversary with ARMY. The other 6 members are all enlisted, and Jin has been out of the military for approximately a single day. But Jin holds a hug session where he hugs 1,000 fans. He also holds a fan meeting style event for an hour at an arena that is live streamed on Weverse for all ARMY, where he sings a few songs and does a variety of funny segments to make ARMY laugh and have fun. Jin performs Super Tuna and adds a surprise whole new verse, which he had quickly recorded the backing track for just the night before, the day of his discharge. You can watch the performance in Bangtanbom Jin Super Chumchi stage cam. You can see the behind for the day in episode Jin at 2024 613 Sokjin The Weather is Clear, or at least that's what it translates to from Korean, or BTS 2024 BTS Festa sketch. RM uses his phone time in the military to post a photo of himself playing saxophone and then a photo of Squirtle playing the saxophone. Jin posts photos from the event after it ends, and then Jin is surprised by his crew with a trip to Hallasan on Jeju Island, thus immediately beginning filming for what becomes the Run Jin series. June 13th, 2025. BTS's 12th anniversary brings 6/7 of BTS home, as the last 4 to enlist are discharged in the days leading up to the anniversary. Suga still has a few weeks of service, however, and can't be on stage just yet, but there's no rules against him being in the audience at the concert, which we'll get into in a minute. RM posts a lovely letter in the wee hours of the morning, thankful to be free, reflective about always feeling overwhelmed, but looking forward to the future. Jin and J-Hope have been working hard over the year, and J-Hope is wrapping up his solo concert tour in Seoul with a special encore finale. This is day 1 of the finale concerts, and it's a special day indeed. J-Hope releases the single Killing It Girl featuring Glorilla and premieres the performance of it that night at the concert. You can watch the stage cam of this performance in J-Hope Killing It Girl stage cam at Hope on the Stage Final. You can also see the behind the scenes of the concert in episode J-Hope Tour Hope on the Stage Final and Hope on the Stage Final short film, as well as Hope on the Stage special documentary. At the concert, all members of BTS attend, and there are surprise appearances and performances by Jin and Jungkook. And we get our first live audience performance of Jamais-Vu, and it's my favorite one, and much like Jin, I almost cry. J-Hope shouts out the members watching in their suite, and we get our first live footage of Suga in nearly 2 years. He's masked, but clearly smiling and sending a big heart towards the camera. RM and V both post videos from the concert, and Jin posts photos of himself backstage after the concert ends. And that brings us to this year. While last year gave us a Festa with reunification in spirit, this year gives us our first official BTS 2.0 Festa, complete with a stadium concert in Busan with an audience, something that BTS have dreamed of being able to do for Festa since 2020 when they had that precise plan canceled by a global pandemic. Busan is so far labeled as the Arirang tour, so it might not have the same vibe as the Festa specific concert fan meetings that they had in the past. But such was the case with the canceled Map of the Soul tour 2 that had the Festa date that never got to be announced before the cancellation happened. So 6 years later, it'll be interesting to see what they plan for doing a concert on their birthday. Song discussion. Swim. About midway through May, I just started thinking about the song Swim all the time and how great it was. And I can't really explain why, but that's why I decided to forego the random song generator and just pick Swim for the next episode. Then Swim won an AMA as Song of the Summer, so it seemed like a sign. And then Namjoon did his Arirang Behind livestream conveniently after my decision. So definitely great timing. Swim is the lead track off BTS's latest album Arirang. The album is BTS's first album post-military service. Its working title was BTS 2.0, start of something new, the next phase of their career. Swim itself is a departure from BTS's usual choice of leading tracks. Rather than a high-energy, danceable anthem, Swim is a mellow, calm track. It's also BTS's first all-English lead track off an album. They'd done English singles before, as we all know, and they've done lead English tracks on some of their solo endeavors, but this is the first time they've decided to lead an album with an English track. In my opinion, naming the album Arirang and choosing an all-English track isn't a contradiction. It's a way of marrying BTS's roots with the global expectations placed upon them. You'll get your English track that's great for radio play outside of Korea, and especially in industry-dominant America, but it will be a contemplative anthem with a depth of message, not nonsense candy. And just a side note, that isn't to say that BTS will never do nonsense candy, or that there's anything inherently wrong with nonsense candy. BTS have always reacted to the times they are in, and during the pandemic, the world was absolutely desperate for a fun track with a nostalgic vibe. And we got Dynamite, Butter, and Permission to Dance during the 2 years it took for vaccinations to be developed and rolled out. If the times call for a light-hearted distraction, BTS can deliver. Right now, though, they've decided the times called for Swim, so let's discuss why and how that fits into the theme of BTS 2.0. I'm going to do lyrics first and then talk about the music video, choreography, and performances. Swim was produced by Tyler Spry and Leclerc. It was written by James Essien, Sean Foreman, Tyler Spry, Jameson Bakken, Ryan Tedder, RM, Kristen A. Chick Spencer, Derek Milano, and P-Dog. In terms of knowing who contributed what, I believe we saw Kristen A. Chick Spencer in the BTS The Return documentary as a fellow lyricist who was helping RM, especially with English expressions and localization. I've also recently seen a great interview with Derek Milano, so I know that he worked primarily on melody, divorced from lyrics. Other than that, what people specifically did is a mystery to me. As armies tend to do, as I talk about the lyrics of this song, I'm going to default credit them all to RM. And I just wanted to preface this by saying that's not a reflection of knowing that he wrote those words specifically, but because I know that RM would be the one to approve all lyrics. So any lyric in the song is a deliberate choice to include that was made by him, regardless of who did or didn't write that specific word. Now, Swim being an English song, I'm not going to go through it line by line. I'm going to talk about the song and each part in general, and maybe call out some of my favorite lines. The song in general is really brilliant because the meaning is open to interpretation. Nearly every line is penned in such a way that it can be interpreted two different ways, at least. Either it's a song about journeying through the rough seas of life, persevering no matter what comes your way, and finding a calm happiness in the act of survival itself, or it's a song about a love for a woman and a whole bunch of sexy times you want to have with her. I suppose I should give a little bit of a warning that this episode is marked explicit, not just because I said motherfucking in the history section, but also because I'm going to talk a lot about how to please a woman. So if you're not into that, my apologies. If you are into it, take notes. Jungkook and Jimin start off with the chorus immediately, and here we get the first trick of the double meaning, and that's using English's perspective voices to your advantage. Is the line water falling off your skin in reference to another person, or is it yourself written in the second person? Crash course on writing here for anyone who is confused. First person is I went to the store. Second person is like how a choose your own adventure novels would have been written. You go to the store. Which candy do you buy? The second person can also put the reader or listener directly in the protagonist's shoes by assuming a shared experience. Comedians do this all the time with, when you go to the store and they don't have what you need, what's up with that? Third person, which isn't in the song, would be he, she, they, or name of character went to the store. So, water falling off your skin could be BTS commenting on what it feels like to be swimming in general. After a repeat of swim, swim, they then say, I could spend a lifetime watching you. So again, you might think, well, obviously these two lines are connected, so the you was the second person that BTS is watching. They love seeing that person swim, the water falling off their skin. It's a love song for another. But is the you in that line another person, or is it themselves? Or is it the sea? Or is it life? They could spend a lifetime watching someone swim, but I don't think it necessarily has to be another person. Or they could be spending a lifetime watching the sea itself. You, the sea, that I'm watching as I swim through you. RM comes in with verse 1. Full disclosure here, RM's verse had to grow on me. There's a thing that I don't like in English rap, and it's super obvious rhymes. There's a singer who I won't say because they will age me, and also they moved on to acting, which is, they're way better suited for that. But I couldn't stand their songs because they were very much I went to a store to buy a door, now I want some more. And they'd always emphasize it like that, and I hated it. So at first, RM ending his lines with the same word threw me into a panic that I didn't like his verse. But the more I listened, the more the repetition fits with the theme of the song. Swim, swim, world, 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 girl, girl, girl. The repetition and the way he says it becomes like the waves. I also like what he's saying, like the meaning behind it. There's a world gone mad, and he wakes up in it every day. Even when he goes and comes back, he's still in the same world. And again, easily interpreted as him addressing an actual girl or even army, or it could be addressing the sea itself personified as a girl. The girl, army, or the sea doesn't even have to love him as much as he loves her. It just has to be there. On the topic of army, I don't want to fall into the army trap of thinking every BTS song is about us, but honestly, that's another legitimate interpretation of the song, and I'm going to talk about that more when we discuss the music video. My favorite lines from RM's verse are, name a place that I could breathe on this map world, looking like a goody-goody in this bad world, bad world. The placement of the comma in the first line is important. RM is asking the entire world if there's even a place he could breathe. And I have the same question on his behalf. RM was under extreme pressure and burnout as the leader of BTS before military enlistment began, unable to breathe in a stifling K-pop industry. Then he got one retrospective album done, and something in his personal life fell apart. He decided, fuck it, and very much released an experimental fuck this album under an extreme time crunch. Then he enlisted, where he was sent to a military camp with some of the worst conditions, became an insomniac, barely getting by, and then finally, when he's released, the stupid South Korean media twists every single thing he says on live stream into something they can put on the news. Everything BTS does is somehow twisted to either try to tear them down or their company, and when that's not happening, people are putting super unrealistic expectations on them, like having a fully original album that somehow satisfies absolutely everyone, both at home and globally, all within 3 months of being discharged. Then, looking like a goody-goody in this bad world, I feel like that line speaks for itself. The bar is so low when the world sucks this much. Personal story, when I met the guy who would become my best friend in university, I used to thank him for absolutely everything he did. And then one day, as I thanked him for clearing the table to go wash the dishes after dinner, he turned to me and said, "Alex, how have people been treating you?" Because apparently I was rewarding him with far too much praise for what he saw as basic decency. You see this happen a lot with men in particular. You don't actually have to be that good to be considered a good guy. And ARMY does heap praise on BTS for being really good guys. But I'm sure they don't see themselves that way. I've spoken about it before, I think, about Jungkook believing that he's only a good guy because the other BTS members raised him, and if he had been placed in a group with worse influence, he would have turned into a bad person just as easily. But I'd argue with that, in that I doubt Jungkook would have been happy in such a group, but I can't necessarily say that he's wrong either. The point is that ARMY sees that BTS try to be good guys, and that's actually where the bar is at this point. We can see you trying, therefore you win. The pre-chorus is sung by Jungkook, and it has one of my other favorite lines. "Nights like these, I just want to get lost. Right here with the moon and the sharks. I ain't got to think about a thing. Baby, I just swim." And you might be like, that's an odd combo of things to want to get lost in. When I first heard it, my immediate interpretation was that the sharks made sense, because what do you do when you're in the water with sharks? You start swimming away from them, and it's literally the only task on your mind. All your other worries fade away because you've got one very important task to do, and that's swim away from the sharks. And that's kind of a funny interpretation, so let's take it yet another direction. The sharks aren't literally there. It's a metaphor for other creatures who are behaving like Jungkook. I don't actually know if it's true or not. I'm not a marine biologist, but when I was a kid, it was widely talked about that if sharks stopped swimming, they would die. Sharks had to swim in their sleep. I think it was something about needing a current through their gills for them to function. So if they were in still water, they'd basically suffocate. Again, I don't know if that's true, but this was commonly held belief in the schoolyard. So in this case, Jungkook himself is like the sharks. He just swims. That's his only option. And since it's his only option, he is relieved from the burden of choice in the matter. Another ARMY, Nell on TikTok, has interpreted the line to be about navigating through life with both a guiding light, the moon, and also opportunists circling to exploit vulnerabilities to take advantage of you or ruin you. Which goes back to my initial interpretation, which is, how do you deal with that? You just swim based on your guiding light and ignore them. And now for the very dirty interpretation. What's another place you might metaphorically swim that involves both moon phases and sharks? Well, menstrual cycles are an average 28 days, the same as moon cycles, and a common euphemism for them is Shark Week. Or I think it's common anyway. Maybe not in the younger generation who doesn't have Shark Week on Discovery Channel anymore. Anyway, I'm just saying things that might visit the fun part of the female anatomy: the moon, sharks, and Jungkook. Again, a reminder, you do not have to agree with my interpretations. I'm just one kind of weird person. For Suga's verse, I think you'll probably be able now to predict my favorite line, and you'd be right. It's "Salt on my tongue, she's stunning." I said in my initial album thoughts, and I'll say it again here, the man has a brand. Interpretation 1, he's talking about the sea. He's swimming in the sea. There's salt water on his tongue. The sea is beautiful. The sea, being a metaphor for life, means that life is beautiful. Interpretation number 2, Suga is definitely licking someone, and she is beautiful. And we'll talk a little more about this interpretation when we get to the music video. I'm also going to circle back to Suga's verse in another minute. J-Hope has verse 3, or the bridge, which J-Hope often carries in BTS songs. Things are splashing and dripping. I'm going to call out a couple lines here. I make waves with my two fins. Again, this could be a metaphor for how BTS's movements make waves wherever they go, or just in general about how you swim through life, your actions have consequences. Now, why does J-Hope have fins? They could just be a metaphor for arms. Another army have guessed that they're a little play on the word fingers, which would suggest that J-Hope's fingers are making waves somewhere, which would mean that the sea that he's talking about splashing and dripping is perhaps a very small sea created by a person who is very pleased to have J-Hope's fingers joining the party that Suga started with his tongue. I'm just saying this fic writes itself. My favorite line of J-Hope's is, "Under here, we don't chase the time." Because again, underwear, Hobie. What exactly are you under? Is it the sea, or is it in fact a skirt? And are you taking your time with it? But whether it's the sea of life or a really good oral session, BTS just want to dive into it. They're ready for the next phase of their life with either this person or with whatever waves comes at them. In RM's Ariorang Behind, he said that Swim became the lead track because they needed something that had good longevity for radio play, and that was either Swim or Normal. I believe they chose Swim based on it having a more universal theme. RM wrote the song to carry the meaning of swimming through life because that's how he felt in the military, counting the days, waiting, drifting, trying to keep going day after day. RM thinks Swim is a very sad song, but it also carries hope. Merry-Go-Round, which follows it, is devoid of that hope, but we'll talk about that another day. RM loves Swim so much, it speaks to him so much, that he wants it played at his grave. So I'm not sure what he'd think of my oral sex interpretation, but I'm pretty sure he did that on purpose too, because he goes on to say that it can sound like a love song, or it can be a song about life itself. For RM, this song is joy, anger, sorrow, happiness folded into one. In the interview for the Elvis Duran show, RM said that the line, "I could spend a lifetime watching you," could have been, "Wonder where the waves are taking you," or something along those lines. I like the line they chose, but I also like the curiosity about life contained in the alternative. RM thinks Swim reflects BTS in their 30s, and I agree with him in either interpretation. One of the metaphors that carried them through chapter 1 of BTS was traveling the desert to reach the sea. The desert was lonely and full of hardship, and the sea was a metaphor for success, for comfort. In the hidden track called Sea on the album Love Yourself, Her, they rightly had the foresight to predict that the sea might be a mirage, or just another form of desert. And they weren't wrong. It's a great myth of either life or capitalism that if you work hard enough, you'll reach some sort of promised land where you can live in comfort without a worry in the world. There's no point in life where you can reach again the bliss of what babies experience, where they have their worries soothed and taken away by a guardian. Instead, much like back then, you get just moments of respite before the next stressful thing occurs, or the stressful thing that is already occurring continues. This is why a lot of people who are at their wits' end dream about sleeping forever. The only break they get is unconsciousness. Similarly, this is the motivation for a lot of drug and alcohol addiction. Where was I going with this? Right, the sea just has different problems than the desert. BTS knew this back in 2017, even before they had made their American television debut. So what do you, as BTS, do when you cross the desert and you reach the sea? You turn your face from the land. Or, as Suga's verse says, "Sittin' on the shore, now I'm ready for the whole sea. I can feel the high waves coming. Why you run away? You can run in." Swim is actually an absolutely brilliant track to lead BTS into BTS 2.0, because BTS 1.0 was about crossing the desert to reach the sea. It's why the Yet to Come music video was filmed in a desert and ended with the sound of waves. And then we sat on the shore of that change for 3 years as BTS completed their obligations to their country, and now they're ready for the whole sea. BTS 2.0 is about navigating the sea of success one day at a time, no matter what waves come. Music video time. While my lyric analysis focused on the metaphor of life or the metaphor of pleasing a woman, I feel like the music video focuses more on the relationship between BTS and ARMY and how the song can relate to that. Our main character is a woman who seems to be desperately looking for something. She runs through a museum at night until she stops at a scaled-down model of a boat and closes her eyes, clutching the special swim compass that led her there. When she wakes, she's on a boat at sea. She moves through the boat, passing BTS members as she does. They can see her, but she can't see them. They watch her as she explores, as she cries, as she moves through life. RM is navigating. The other members are hoisting sails, basically running the ship. And guys, side note, but there are so many references to this song Normal in this MV that I was convinced it was going to be the next song to get a music video. And I'm still wondering if perhaps it was when they filmed this, but then they decided to go with 2.0 and Hooligan instead. Only that doesn't make sense because videos take way more prep time than that. And these 3 music videos were all filmed in February from what I can tell. So I'm confused. Anyway. So what we get is a woman who is searching the ship for something, who is clearly worried, but who can't see BTS in their military uniforms working very hard to keep things all afloat. For me, that's the metaphor for the music video. BTS is watching ARMY swim through their own lives. They're working as support even when we can't see them. An even more specific interpretation is that this is a reflection of BTS's time enlisted. They're still running the ship, they're in control, but given the nature of their position, ARMY can't see them or know that they have a plan. They worry. It's hard to trust that BTS is there sometimes when they seem so absent. You could take it a step forward into post-enlistment era too, because HYBE is a company with shareholders now and is listed on the stock market. The sharks in our world, those always circling, are looking for ways to manipulate the market or to tank the stock or to sow discord, either for profit or out of jealousy or bitterness, or it's just tall poppy syndrome, or fear for their own position being threatened by HYBE's growth. As a result, because BTS makes more than half of HYBE's money, they're the prime source for making up stories to make the company look bad. So BTS have to keep things close to their chests. They can't tell you Jin is enlisting at the end of the year until he files the paperwork. They can't be completely honest in livestream because everything they say is reported in the media and twisted. Now, it's true that Big Hit Labels is separate from HYBE in such a way where shareholders have no impact on BTS's decisions in terms of creative direction or their careers. But BTS are nice people, and they also have a lot of shares in HYBE, so they're going to think about people's jobs and also their own investments before they do anything. This means that there will always be that aspect of corporate secrecy to the interactions between BTS and ARMY. ARMY have to trust BTS even when we can't see them. We have to trust that they are indeed piloting the ship that we're all on. They've got this, no matter what storm blows in when it's Hobie's turn to film. The music video was filmed on a real boat in Portugal, and that was real rain falling on Hobie. Now, another side note, because I actually did go sailing for the first time the other week, and sailing is an always-on endeavor. There's no time where you're not doing something. So if you're on a boat and you're just riding around looking at things, somebody else is working the sails, steering the boat constantly. So you're never on a boat being like, this boat's sailing itself. The boat's being sailed. So if you can't see them, just trust that they're working very hard. The boat is sailing. Anyway, back to Suga's part, because I want to talk about the pleasing a woman again. As much as I miss being able to see Suga while his part plays, I love that we basically get a metaphor for an orgasm in the form of dance while he talks about having salt on his tongue. At the end of the video, the woman might actually run up and leap off the side of the boat, ready to swim on her own. It's of course open for interpretation. The last shot we see of BTS is them lined up at the bow, above the name of the ship, which is Arirang, and gazing off at something in the distance. The last shot of the music video is the woman back in the museum, dripping wet, smiling in satisfaction at the camera. BTS standing in a boat, looking in the same direction, is also a great metaphor, considering RM's go-to metaphor for BTS for years has been that they're all in the boat together, but they're all looking in different directions. Maybe that's still true in reality, but I like the metaphor of them being similarly focused at the moment on Arirang. I actually think it's somewhat of a strength in RM's usual metaphor that they're looking in different directions on the boat, because then someone is keeping an eye out on what's coming up behind them too. Again, when I went sailing for the first time the other week, that's actually very important when you're sharing the water with other vessels and possibly sea creatures, just to take a metaphor way too literally for a second. The other really cool thing about having this music video be the first thing released for BTS 2.0 is that it isn't your typical K-pop video. There's no choreography, even though the song has some, and BTS aren't even the main characters of the music video. The focus is on the woman when most of them are singing. It opens the door to this era with the bold statement of don't expect what we did before. And personally, I think that's a really important message for them to get out there, even subconsciously. They've released a few performance videos and live videos for Swim. Sun Hae-won version, live clip 1, filmed in a really beautiful building in Korea, is a version that they sang live. The official performance video was also filmed inside the Maritime Museum in Lisbon, Portugal, and it features the choreography. I absolutely love their outfits in that one, especially the sweater that Suga wears. My favorite video is probably the Swim live clip 2, which is the swimming pool version. I love this one because it showcases BTS's sense of humor, which I don't think they've done in a video like this before. Maybe during the pandemic era with the versions of Dynamite. I'm trying to remember, but there was more than just them being goofy spontaneously. I think what tickles me about this one is the fact that all the gags were purposefully planned. My favorite is when Suga hands Jimin the fish. I also love it for that bit because of the live harmonizing with between Suga and V at that moment. It's really beautiful. They also do a live performance video for the Netflix documentary BTS The Return, which you can watch on YouTube. Let's circle back and talk about the choreo, and I'm just going to do that very briefly. Obviously, this is a mellow song, so no hard-hitting popping moves and fast footwork like we usually get. But I'd actually argue that Swim showcases their dancing abilities even more because, yes, there are a lot of intricacies and talent required to dance hard and fast, but when you slow things down, any error is even more glaring, and any lack of emotion in the movement, any lack of moving with purposeful control and intent is also more noticeable. Highlights for me, which you can see in the dance practice they released, are Suga first moving with the other 6, then stopping and singing his part a bit without being in sync with them, and then moving right back into step with them smoothly. Also, the part where the other 6 members circle Hobie during his part, and they all pause as V comes in for the first part of the outro chorus and hold completely still. In the dance practice, Jin pauses mid-step and is so still it really does look like someone just pressed pause on him completely. I could also comment on the different shapes they make during the choreo. In the chorus, after Suga's part, they take the shape of a boat behind Jungkook, who forms like the tip of the bow. In Hobie's part, while they circle, they basically become like a whirlpool around him. It also works really well with the circular stage on their tour. And on that note, let's talk about performances. They debuted the choreo at their comeback show in Gwanghwamun Square. Unfortunately, RM had sprained his ankle just 2 days before the event, so he had to sit outside. RM also sat out the performances at the Spotify Swim Side event, which was their first performance in the US. It was extremely cold at the Swim Side event, and they didn't have quite as many layers on as they wore at the comeback special in Korea. So they still killed it, of course, but they were quite visibly freezing. By the time they did the Jimmy Fallon show, RM's ankle had thankfully healed enough that he could take part in the swim performance, which was filmed at the Guggenheim Museum. So that was Army's first chance to see the performance live with all 7 members dancing. I mean, RM was there before, but he just wasn't dancing. They're, of course, performing it on tour. They've done it 18 times now, I think. They perform Swim as the second to last song of the first act. Backup dancers come out with large white sheets that they use as props to form a ring of waves and currents around the members as they dance. As RM mentioned in his aria rung behind, Swim and Merry-Go-Round have similar themes, but Swim has a hopeful outlook, while Merry-Go-Round is more just the depressive episode of it all. So in the concert, Swim is performed before Merry-Go-Round and before a small VCR break. Anyway, I can talk about the setup of the tour and the storytelling there another day. For now, just know that there is plenty of time and places for you to see BTS perform Swim. One of the reasons that the podcast is taking a short break after this is that I'm going to go to Europe myself to see them. So I'm very excited. So on that note, I'm actually going to wrap up my discussion on Swim. Usually I do that with like a snappy sentence about the meaning of the song, but I feel like that I said those all already, and I don't know if they were snappy. And this time I'm not going to spin the random song generator. I'll wait until I know when the next episode is going to be. If you get impatient, you can always find me on Blue Sky. I'll keep everyone updated there about my plans. And that's it for now. Happy Festa, everybody. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. If you'd like to discuss this episode, or next week's song, or have a say in what song gets chosen in the future, you can find me on Patreon and Ko-fi at A Brand New Day Pod. You can also find me on Blue Sky at A Brand New Day Pod, or you can email me at abrandnewdaypod@gmail.com. Thank you. Have a good day.